Hello, everyone. My name is Susan Crowley, and I'm with Career Services at Wayne State University. This is our resume writing workshop, and we are going to be talking about some best tips and best practices for writing your resume. And we are also going to be talking about some resources that Career Services offers as far as writing resumes well. So let's get started today. The agenda is writing resumes, best practices, and resume samples and rubrics, and Q&A. So the top 5 resume writing tips that are out there are pretty straightforward and simple. The layout and the format of your resume is always very important. It is a traditional format. It needs to be easy to read. Black type against a white background is very important. You wouldn't get fancy with this document using a lot of color or a lot of colored paper. You wouldn't have pictures on your resume. You wouldn't use really fancy fonts. It is a very conservative document, and the idea is to have the employer paying attention to the content within the document and not really how the document looks. So it's not a real fancy layout for employers to go through. Number 2 is you have 15 to 20 seconds to shine. So employers go through these resumes in about 15 to 20 seconds. They glance and they're looking for keywords and accomplishments and relevant skills that pertain to their jobs. The top half of your resume is typically the first thing they're focusing on and the first thing they're kind of remembering. So if you can get a lot of accomplishments and relevant skills in that section, you're doing well. So you have about 15 to 20 seconds to highlight information about yourself to make yourself stand out. Number 3 is list your experience in reverse chronological format. So that typically means that everything you're doing right now goes at the top of every category, and you work your way backwards as far as your employment or your experiences, any student organizations that you belong to, any universities that you attended or schooling you've done. So whatever you're doing right now goes at the top of every category, and you work your way backwards. That's reverse chronological order. Number 4, customize your resume to each position. This is a huge one to remember. It's very important. We'll go over this later on in the presentation in detail, but you always want to customize your resume to every job that you are applying for. If you're not doing this step and you're finding it frustrating looking for employment right now, then this is probably one of your biggest roadblocks. So be sure to customize your resume to every position. And then you want to quantify your accomplishments. So identify appropriate numbers and include professional achievements that you've done. You want to add value to what you have done and when you're explaining it to employers. So quantify your accomplishments anytime you can. So some best practices are to review job postings and find suitable jobs for yourself. So the best way to write your resume is to have a job posting that tells you all of the information to talk about in this document. So you would find a job posting and you want to ask yourself, can I produce the required results for this job? They're asking for all these things on the job posting. Can I produce what they need to be done? And if so, it is a good match. And you want to be a good match for the job if you want your resume to be selected. And in order for your resume to be a good match, it's important to know the employer's wants and requirements for the position. So if you can read those job postings and determine their needs and look and analyze your own skill sets and experiences, and you can strongly feel that you are a good match for this position, then your resume should be pretty easy to write. You want to make a list or highlight the major keywords and phrases of things you can do on that job posting so that you can incorporate that information into your resume. If you're having a really hard time writing your resume for a job, you need to ask yourself, is this a job I'm qualified to do, or is this just a job that I want to do? It can be very hard to write a resume for a job when you don't meet the qualifications or fit the skills or background that they're looking for. So review job postings and find jobs that suit your background, skills, and abilities. Review your resume and demonstrate relevant experiences. So there are two types of resumes. There are general resumes and customized resumes. General resumes typically end up like out on LinkedIn and maybe at a job fair. A general resume is something you want to try to avoid using when you can. You want to customize a resume every single time that you have the opportunity. So LinkedIn is a pretty generalized area, or an online portfolio is a pretty generalized area of all your skill sets. That's usually where a general resume might end up. But job fairs when you can, specific jobs you're applying for, networking with friends, anytime you can customize a resume to a specific job, you want to be able to do this. So for instance, in a career fair, they usually give you lists of companies that are attending. My suggestion would be to go directly to those company websites, look at the jobs that they're hiring for at the moment, and customize resumes to the specific jobs that you meet the requirement. You need to be able to tell people what you want to do and explain on your resume how you can do these things for them. That's what gets your resume selected. So anytime you can, use a customized resume. Key points to remember about a resume. Your experience on a resume is fluid, which means you pick and choose what is most important to the reader. So information might flow into your resume and irrelevant information might come out. So if you're applying for a specific job, you might have certain information on your resume and you might notice that some things are irrelevant and they would come right out of your resume. And you might look at the job posting and notice that you forgot to talk about a few things that you know would be relevant to that job experience. So you would incorporate that into your resume. So information flows in and out of your resume. It's fluid. And it's always targeted to what is most important to the person reading the document. So talk about your previous accomplishments that relate to the job posting. Demonstrate in your bullets how your experience qualifies you for the job, and tailor your experience to each specific job posting that you are applying to. Different categories and ways to demonstrate experience on a resume include work experience. So any jobs or internships or experiential learning opportunities that you might have done, any field placements. Education can incorporate classes, projects, or research work that you've done, any volunteer experience that you may have, or any groups or organizations that you're a part of. These are all different ways that you can demonstrate your skills, strengths, abilities, and experiences on a resume. So these can be various categories can go in if they pertain to the job you're applying for, and you can update the information as it's tailored to the job posting. Anytime that you can, it's very important to quantify your bullets. So whenever possible, you want to add numbers and results of roles that you've had, and it should show up and be an impact in your bullets. So you can do this even if you're not working a job where you're dealing with numbers or money or things like that. What you want to do is ask yourself, how frequently did I do these tasks? And you can incorporate that into your resume. How big was the team that I worked on? Or how many groups did I lead? Or how many people did I consult with? Or how many clients did I have? All of these can be used to quantify your resume and just make it strong when you're talking about your experiences. So any opportunity that you can to talk about numbers in your resume, it just helps strengthen your resume for certain roles. And it's very important to incorporate skills and competencies into your resume. So employers are telling the career services professionals across the country at national meetings that they want to know the skills and competencies that the students have. When you demonstrate skills, qualifications, and competencies, they need to be specific to the requirements of the job. So don't just start throwing random information into your resume. Make sure that the information that you're adding to the document pertains to the job. And if you have a lot of irrelevant information, you definitely want to remove it. If you list that you have strong leadership skills or are a team player and hardworking, then you need to provide examples of how you did these things on your resume, in your bullet points, or under your experiences. So it's important to incorporate the skills and competencies. Employers are looking for these things right now. Um, they're looking for hard skills and soft skills. They will list this stuff on the job postings typically. If they are not listing it on the job postings, then I would take the title of that job posting and Google it and see if you can find similar jobs, and notice between the job postings the similarities of things that they need, and you can incorporate those skills, competencies into your resume. So if your job posting is pretty vague, just Google that job title again and see if you can find another or a few other jobs like that, and notice the similarities between the postings. And that probably is a good indicator that the job you're applying for is going to be looking for some of those similar experiences or skills. So hard skills and soft skills are important. A lot of times employers will list these on resumes. Hard skills are typically things that you've learned throughout your life. So they include things that you've picked up on the job or in classes or in trainings. Um, so a lot of times employers might list hard skills on the job posting, and if you have those, you definitely want to include them. And then soft skills are more personal habits or traits that you've acquired. Maybe you've had them since you were very young. They include things like creativity and the ability to problem solve and critically think. A lot of people have these from very early on, and they're ingrained in their psyche, so they know how to do them. So hard skills and soft skills, you might be able to see these on job postings, and it's important to incorporate these whenever the employers are asking for them. And then there are 8 career competencies that employers are saying they're having a hard time finding these competencies in job candidates. So these 8 competencies are things employers are really looking for. So career and self-development, which is the ability to go, okay, I know what I want to do for my job. I know where I might want to be in 5 years. I know how to get to the next level in this type of career. So understanding what it takes to move forward in your career is career and self-development. Communication, they are really looking for people who can communicate well, and that's in all formats of communication. So being able to present, being able to write strong emails, being able to communicate through social media, all different platforms of communication. So you would read the job posting and determine which types of communication are important for that job, and it's good to incorporate that into your resume. Critical thinking is very important for a job, and employers are really looking for those people who can step into a role and critically think about situations, problem solve, move processes forward. They are not looking for the people who have to ask everyone how to do things. So they want the people who can look at their work, decipher what needs to be done, and move forward with it. Equity and inclusion, it's very important to be able to work with others and understand that everyone has something to offer at the workplace, and there are reasons why people were hired, and whether you get on with them or not, you have to understand that everyone has the opportunity to contribute to the company, and they're there for a reason. So being inclusive and focusing on equity and inclusion when you're in the workplace is very important, and employers like to know that. Anytime you can demonstrate that you've worked in diverse groups or you've worked on things that involved equity and inclusion, they like to see that on resumes. Number 5 is leadership. So anytime you've led projects or groups or teams, Led organizations, anytime you can demonstrate leadership, they like leadership. So that's an important one as well. Professionalism is a good one for your resume. The resume itself is a demonstration of professionalism. If you can hand in a clean looking document with no errors and it's well written, that's professionalism in itself. So being professional is one of the competencies that employers are really looking for right now. Teamwork, anytime you can demonstrate that you've worked in teams, whether that's on the job or in your classes, being able to demonstrate teamwork on your resume is a great competency to have on there. And then technology. And the technology is for your specific fields, and that's understanding what the employers need you to be doing for technology, and they might even list specific technology that they're looking for on those job postings. And it's very important to incorporate the technology that you know into your resume so that they understand you can do or learn the technology that will be needed for the position. So these are the top 8 career competencies that employers are looking for when they're scanning through resumes right now. If they're mentioning these things on the job posting, and it might not be all of them, they might just need, 2 or 3 of them, but if they are asking for them, you definitely want to include these items on your resume. Okay, the reasons to always tailor and customize your resume. So when you tailor your resume, it really focuses all of the content on the job you're applying to. And the key to this is being able to pass the applicant tracking system screening. So since COVID hit, most employers use some type of online screening process to go through resumes. You probably notice as you're applying for jobs, you have to upload a resume on some type of system through an employer's website. That's typically how professional jobs have been going lately. So when you're uploading these systems, they're going through an applicant tracking system or an ATS screening, which is an automated computerized screening of your resume. And that's ATS system is looking for keywords, key phrases that match the job posting you're applying to. So the hiring manager might say, okay, ATS system, give me all of the resumes that match my job posting 90%. So if you don't have those keywords and phrases in your resume, you're not going to be selected by the applicant tracking system. So you haven't even gotten through to the hiring manager yet. So the applicant tracking system will deny your resume if it's not tailored and customized to the job posting. So the hiring manager can say anything from, 90%, 80%, 70%, 65, 63, whatever. They can choose whatever they need to help size down the applicant pool. So sometimes there's just so many resumes that it's overwhelming, and the employers need a way to size them down. And the applicant tracking system scans the resumes for the keywords and phrases that match the job posting the best. And those are the ones that the hiring manager goes through. So it's very, very important to always customize and tailor your resume. And it's important to do this too, to demonstrate to the reader how you can do their job. If you can't say how you can do their job on paper, then they're not even going to take the time to talk to you about how to do a job in an interview. The individuals who demonstrate on paper that they know how to do the job are the ones that they will bring in to have a dialogue with about their skill sets. So be sure to demonstrate how you can do the job on your resume. So this is just an example of how to tailor your resume. On the left-hand side, there is a job posting. And this candidate, Kathy Smith, went through and highlighted all of the things that she felt were important or she knew how to do. And these were the things that she felt needed to be incorporated into the resume because she had that skill set, those experiences, and it was important to tell the hiring manager how she knew how to do these things. So she literally went through the job posting and highlighted She has 13 things in here that she highlighted. As you noticed, it's not everything. Job postings are typically in an employer wish list. If they could have anything, what would they want? And they create this list of skill sets and experiences that they're looking for someone to have had. That does not mean that they will find someone that has everything. So if you're reading a job posting and you, um, I like to use the 80-20 rule. If you have 80% of the skill sets on that job posting, um, it's fair game in my mind. You're probably a good match, and your resume should be pretty straightforward and easy to write. So if it interests you, I would apply for it. So they highlighted all the skills and competencies and everything they knew how to do on the left-hand side. And as you can see over on the right-hand side, it shows where they have incorporated them or talked about them in their resume. And they made sure to get everything that they had on there that they had highlighted on that job posting incorporated into that resume. And that's how you tailor your resume to each specific job. A lot of students or candidates will create a job or will create a resume that's kind of an ongoing list of information and use it as a template. And they will take out the information that's irrelevant and put this highlighted relevant information in, and they will remove the irrelevant information so that it's not uh, making your resume congested with things that don't pertain to that job. Employers will get lost in information if there is too much irrelevant information. So be sure to remove things and update it with information that is important to the reader. So some key resume factors to consider during our crazy economy right now. COVID kind of threw a wrench in a lot of the hiring practices out in the workplace right now. And things are kind of returning to more of a similar playing field that we had previously, but a lot of things have also changed. So it's important to understand that a lot of recruiting is happening online. So as you're doing your resume, you want to be aware that when you're submitting it, you're meeting the deadlines of the job postings. Submitting it after the deadlines does not look professional. And remember, professionalism was one of those competencies that employers wanted candidates to have. So if there are deadlines listed on the resume, you need to make sure that you're submitting your resume by the deadline if you want it selected in some fashion, if you're hoping that it's going to be looked at and considered. The next one is have your resume in the right place. So recruiting efforts used to be focused on, the employers would be like, I'm going to go to these specific schools and recruit students from these schools for our available positions. And since COVID hit, there's been a shift where they've realized they can find more candidates and have a more diverse pool of candidates and a more inclusive recruiting platform when they use these large job boards to source their candidates. The job boards like Handshake, which is what Wayne State University offers for a job board for the students, LinkedIn, company portals, like so their direct websites are places where they're sourcing a lot of candidates. Anywhere where they can receive applicants from across the country are ways that they're trying to recruit now because it just diversifies their employee pool. So it's important to have your resume in the right place. Don't just go out onto random job boards and set up some feeders and have jobs sent to you. It's important for you to go out and actually look for jobs that you want to apply for and tailor and customize your resume to that specific job. So you have to be proactive when you're job searching, not reactive. So have your resume in the right place. Have it on Handshake, have it on LinkedIn. If you know people in the industry you want to work in, then have them refer your resume to hiring managers. They can email friends or hiring managers or whoever they know in the company and submit your resume. And then make sure that you're using the company websites or the company portals where they're hiring. Go directly to those companies and submit resumes as well. If you're identifying jobs on Indeed or Monster.com or Snag a Job, use those platforms as research and then go directly to the company website to apply for the jobs. And then as you're looking for jobs, if you have downtime, it's important to enhance your skills along the way. So do some professional development if you can. It just helps build your resume as you're job searching. So if you're feeling like it's taking a long time to hear back from employers and you feel like some of your skills are like time is passing and some of your skills are maybe getting a little bit older and you want to keep your resume up to date, there are a lot of online classes right now and trainings and workshops that are free. There are micro internships. Wayne State Career Services has a micro internship platform called Parker Dewey where you can do projects and get paid for them. We have another platform called Forage, which are just actually company projects that you can practice on. So they're not paid, they're just project work that companies have put out online so that students can practice enhancing their skills in certain areas, and then they can build those skills and add them to their resume. So it's all resume building information through Forage. So there are different ways to enhance your skills along the way. So if you feel like it's taking a long time and you want to keep your skill set up to date, try and enhance them with some free online classes or trainings or workshops or micro internship experiences. Just Googling, um, diversity, equity, inclusion certificate or some type of technology certificate. And you could put the word free after that, and you might come up with some free ways to enhance your skill set. And then stand out by focusing on those competencies that we talked about. There are so many applicants out there, and the employers are looking at the resumes in different ways, and they want to find the individuals who have these 8 competencies that we talked about. So if those job postings are asking for them, make sure to incorporate any of those competencies or hard skills or soft skills. And always tailor, customize, or adapt the details of your resume. That is the most important thing you can walk away with here. If you're not doing that, then your resume is not going to be selected. So this is a resume rubric. We know a lot of high schools had been using rubrics, and the students at Wayne State are familiar with rubrics now. So we have a resume rubric that we have created, and the yellow column is where you want your resume. And if you're falling into any of the other columns, then your resume might need a little bit of work. But basically, you definitely want to focus on the format of your resume. Your education needs to be organized, clear, well-defined. It needs to highlight your GPA, the date you graduated, not how long you have been doing school, but your graduation month and year, the major you've gotten. And if you're out in the professional world, you don't typically need to put in your GPA. If you're looking for more of internship type positions, then GPA is going to be important. And then any other relevant coursework is appropriate for education. Your experience needs to be well defined, and it needs to relate to, again, that job posting. Places of work and location, titles and dates are included for each position you apply for. You do not need the physical address of the place that you worked. You just need the job title, the company name, and city, state, and the dates that you worked there, month and year. And then any honors or activities or organizations that you were involved with, any leadership roles, any of those other categories or areas that are going to help you stand out for these positions you're applying for. So this rubric will be included in the information that I email to everyone. If you are interested in receiving the presentation and all the resources that we've talked about and more, then I'm going to have everyone put their access ID in the chat. And this is a sample resume. So resumes all look different. So not everything in here might be incorporated into your resume, but having a summary section at the top of your resume really helps you get through that applicant tracking system. And it's a nice area where you can incorporate the title of the job you're applying for, some skill sets and competencies, hard skills and soft skills that might need to be incorporated into your resume. The highlights, some people combine the summary section and the highlights area and have just one large, strong professional summary. But the highlights, those 3 bullet points, should be coming right from the job posting itself. And then your experiences are listed with the name of the position you had, where the position was. You definitely want to include, I just noticed that the company name is not on here, but you definitely want to include the company name, city and state, and then when you worked the job. So that is correct on here. And then again, all of these bullets underneath this experience, whether it was a volunteer experience, a work experience, an organization that you worked through, all of these bullets need to pertain to the job posting. So that information should be addressing things they are looking for on the job posting. And then they have their education listed, their degree and relevant courses, and then certifications that they have. And these categories are fluid as well. So the information is fluid where things might come out and to make room for more relevant information, but the categories are fluid as well. So categories might come out, they might pop the education up maybe over the work experience. Maybe what they've been doing in their education involves projects that would be very important to the reader. So they would pop the education section up over the experience and the experience would drop down. Maybe the job posting was asking for certain certifications and those need to be incorporated maybe up in the summary so that it's one of the first things the employer is running into when they are reading the information. So all of the information is interchangeable and can be prioritized to the reader's feeling of what would be important for them for that job. So that is the resume writing presentation, and I'm going to stop recording right now.